Let's get things underway first. This is the first video on my channel with NHL 20 gameplay. I just bought the game earlier this morning, and it's gonna be a learning curve, I will say that myself. The shooting animations feel great. Shots feel more realistic. I love the loading behind the power. When you press the right stick upwards, it doesn't just instantly fire off a shot. The guy kind of holds it for a little bit, loads up, and you can actively feel the power in that shot. I saw like a whole bunch of new shot animations. I don't think there's a single one that's reused, so I really like that a lot, but the whole horizontal calibration thing not being there is really screwing me up because on my TV, the game is stretched out too wide than my TV is. It shows up fine on the Elgato capture card, which is why the video footage looks okay, but playing it live, it's not the best. That's probably gonna have to get fixed up. And right now, this GM mode that I'm playing, it's a temporary file. Once the season starts, they'll post a full roster update, so I'll download that and I will use that once the season gets underway. Also, I haven't made any of the NCAA, USNTTP, KHL guys yet, so I'm gonna have to make those, but I'm gonna do that once I have the ability to make a new save file once the roster comes out. So overall, it's just a temporary file. I'm just using it with the current Canucks. I'm not going into the future 10, 20 years like I usually do like that, but let's go on to the main topic of this video. Jake Virtanen and his conditioning. There's a reason this is in the public eye, and it's not necessarily something that I think is super helpful. Jake Virtanen is a Vancouver Canucks player. He's one that was drafted 6th overall, and it's one that most people thought had more in him by the time he made the team, and the few years removed from him actually getting drafted. Now Virtanen is coming up in a season where he's 22, 23 years old, and he was close to getting 20 goals last year. 20 seems to be the standard that people are expecting to have in terms of what a good season from Virtanen would look like next season. So you could imagine the shock when training camp in Victoria, day 1, was underway. The groups were released, and the groups did their practices and their drills and all that, and Jake Virtanen was nowhere to be found. At least in the first 2 groups. Jake Virtanen was found on the 3rd group of Vancouver Canucks skaters, along with all of, let's face it, they're all AHL guys. Virtanen was the only player in this group that you could define as an NHL player. He was on the first line with Carter Banks and Wacey Hamilton. Landon Ferraro, Camper, and Stevenson were the second line. Sadoe, Sorensen, and Arsenault were the third line. Then for defensemen, it's LeBlanc, Blue Juice, Fry, Petgrave, Thau, Warm. I'm gonna pretend like I know who those guys are, but I really don't. I'd be lying if I said that I did. I only know Carter Banks, Wacey Hamilton, and Jake Virtanen, and Blue Juice because he was on the Comets. And then the goaltenders, it's Michael DiPietro, Jake Kiley, and Artur Silovs. So those are the guys that we all know too, but obviously there are ways away from becoming NHL players. DiPietro, 2017 draft pick, Kiley, recent college signing, and Silovs, 2019 draft pick. So they're a ways away, but Virtanen was the NHL standout on this group. And right away, that caught everybody's attention. This was like an, okay, is this Travis Green doing the whole tough love thing for Virtanen? Is this Travis Green holding back Goldulban on ice time and sitting him in the press box? Is this Travis Green scratching Brock Besser for the first 2 games of his rookie season and holding him off that way? Is this the same kind of tough love that we saw in those situations being applied to Virtanen in this one? Well, let's go over a few tweets, a few articles written by people who were actually at the training camp, and listen to what they have to say. Let's hop over onto the province. Big ups to the province. I've been using these articles for the quotes for so many weeks now. They've just been so on top of their game recently. They talked about Travis Green and what he has to say about Virtanen and why he was on this unit. The article says that it's his conditioning that would seem like is an issue. Here's what Travis Green has to say about that. Jake and I have had lots of conversations over the years and a few times over the summer and at the end of the season. Jake wants to be better as well and wants to progress as a player. I want him to take a step, even start to become a leader on the team. And you know, there are certain expectations that he wanted to reach and I wanted him to reach, and we both agreed there were goals that would have to be met, and if he didn't reach them, he probably wouldn't be with that first 2 groups on the first day of camp. But there's nothing more than that. Okay, nothing more than that. There are goals that Travis Green and Jake Virtanen set for himself, and Green says that if those goals weren't fulfilled, then he most likely wouldn't be on Group 1 or Group 2. Well, let's go over onto what Virtanen had to say about those specific goals. Let's jump over onto my buddy Chris Faber's article here on Canucks Army. This specific quote actually wasn't in the Province article, so we'll read it from the Canucks Army article. Virtanen mentioned in the post-practice scrum that he had almost reached the goals that himself and Travis Green had set out for him in the offseason. And he says, "It's not like I was far off from that." Now, let's jump back over to the Province article, talk about the quotes from Virtanen there. I mean, it's training camp. It's not like it's preseason. It's nothing really, and yeah, just so you know, I thought it was the same practice. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just putting my head down and grinding and working hard to take a motivation. Yeah, I'm frustrated at myself. I think anybody would be. I mean, I was right there. So it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not going to be all pissy about it. Virtanen wraps things up saying that he's just going to work hard, and Travis knows. He told him he was going to work hard and get back and come into camp and be ready for it. So right away, that's a big indicator of what exactly it's going to entail, I guess. Because Virtanen, I'm not going to say that Virtanen was the calmest guy just reading the quotes. Sure, he could have had the calmest demeanor in the world, but reading the quotes, I wouldn't be surprised if there was even the slightest sense of hostility in those answers, because those are some pretty impactful words. And Virtanen, furthermore, throughout the entire training camp, let's go back over to Chris Faber's article. He talks a little bit about the stuff that Virtanen actually did during the camp. Take a look at this. In the first half of the practice, Jake was clearly showing frustration as he caught Zach Fry with an elbow driving to the net, and he followed that up with giving Fry 2 cross-checks when he was screening the goalie. The second cross-check sent Fry sliding away from the crease like a curling rock. Now, I don't know who Zach Fry is, but if this guy is able to get shoved out of the way by Virtanen, and Virtanen is angry about it, Virtanen is out there putting his best foot forward because he's angry that he was on Squad C, hey, it actually might work. It actually might work. If Virtanen is angry, if Virtanen has his head in the game 100%, he's driven to succeed because he's angry that he's not being given the opportunities that he feels like he should be, then we could be seeing the true 2013-14 Calgary Hitmen draft year Jake Virtanen coming back to play here. The big physical presence, the guy who could shove guys off the puck, the guy who could drive to the net with speed, skill, and force. This is a Virtanen that we want to see. And the Jake Virtanen that we had last season, let's take a look at what Travis Green had to say about that here in the Province article back at it. This is what Green said about Jake Virtanen. Of 82 games, Jake and I talked about it, we probably got 40 good ones. We want to get 80 or 70. You're not going to be your best every night, but there are certain aspects that go into providing that consistency to be a real good pro. That's where you want to be. And if Jake Virtanen is in a position where this little setback at the beginning, this wake-up call, you could say, is going to force him into getting those 60, 70, 80 good games in the year, then I'm all for it. Hey, maybe it is just an underlying issue, maybe it is really Virtanen and his consistency and his fitness and his cardio and all that stuff not being up to speed, but if this is a wake-up call, I think it might be effective. I really think it might. Now, I will say that training camp is actually going on right now at September 14. This video is probably going to be outdated by the time, I don't know, noon rolls around. So, this is just a video for what happened yesterday on September 13th on the training camp on why Virtanen was on Block C, but overall I think it's still a really interesting thing to bring up, the apparent issues with conditioning for Virtanen and how he was put onto this other block. So, hope you enjoyed this video, Social 9, and bye.